Hello and welcome back to Jackknives Reviews. I am of course your host, Jackknives. Today I will be reviewing The Black Phone. In 1978, in a small town, children are mysteriously going missing and have been repeatedly throughout the years. Finney, a young boy who becomes friends with a rebellious teenager and also plays baseball, starts noticing that these people that he associates with are going missing. This is all orchestrated by a figure known as the Grabber, who tricks kids with black balloons and grabs them in broad daylight, and they are never seen again. Finney becomes the next victim of the Grabber, as he is taken away in broad daylight, put into a soundproof basement with only a black phone that is not connected and yet is ringing. As Finney is able to pick up the phone, he hears the voices of the previous victims of the Grabber, giving him advice on how to escape. At the same time, his younger sister Gwen has visions of dreams that are actually clues of reality which are going on at the same time. Through these visions, she's able to experience what the victims went through and is giving hints as to where the Grabber is and the location of where Finney has been taken. The police don't believe her at first, but considering she knows things that no one else does, they start to believe her. And together, they are in a race against time to get Finney out before the Grabber gets him. So, I was really looking forward to this movie. I have been waiting for this movie to come out for a long time. And the reason why is because it's based on a short story by one of my personal favorite writers named Joe Hill. Now that name may not be familiar with a lot of people, but you're most likely familiar with the series Lock and Key, not the Netflix series, the actual comic book series. Joe Hill is actually also the son of Stephen King, but in my opinion he's a much better writer than Stephen King because he can actually create a cohesive narrative of building of characters and give you a satisfying payoff at the same time. And the short story that this is based on is one of those examples. However, the problem with the movie isn't necessarily in the plot, character, or even the concept of the Grabber or the concept of the ghosts. It's unfortunately in the execution. The big issue I have is when you have a subject that involves horrible things happening to children, it's a very tight rope that you have to either go all in with or you have to gingerly step around and imply without actually showing. This, unfortunately, does neither. It falls somewhere in the middle. It doesn't have enough gore to be a rated R movie. It's almost a PG-13 movie. But what's so bizarre about that is the team that made this, the director and the producer of this movie, and even the star, Ethan Hawke, who plays the Grabber. He does a fantastic job in this. But this is the same team that made Sinister. And what makes this so weird is that if you've watched the Sinister movie, the concept was kind of lame, but when it showed graphic nature, especially when things happen to children, it didn't really hold much back. It didn't have a lot of gore, but it was very visual, very visceral, and very in your face. And this didn't have any of that. You see where the Grabber takes them. You see the visuals of where these things happen, but you don't see what happened, and you don't even know really anything about these characters of the victims. I mean, you know some of their names, but that's about it. And honestly, that's another issue. You barely get to know the main characters. You really don't know much about Finney and Gwen other than they have an abusive, alcoholic father and their mother's dead. And apparently she had visions just like Gwen. But as far as them as individuals, there's very little to work off of. Same thing with the Grabber. His backstory is very mysterious, which in a killer, you need that. I'm so sick of seeing these horror films where you know everything about the killer, and it just comes off as so bland and just irritating. So it's like, But it wasn't a bad horror movie, don't get me wrong. But it had so much that you wanted out of it. And for a concept like this, I can understand why it flew under the radar for a lot of people. I didn't even get a chance to see it in theaters, and I wanted to. I eventually got to see it on VOD, but... I mean, is it bad? No. Is it great? No. It's not quite what I wanted, but it's not quite what I expected either. I don't know. It's just kind of somewhere in the middle. I give The Black Phone 3.5 out of 5. Have you seen The Black Phone? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, I'll see you next time.